Today, I got something for all you knife polygamists out there. That's 4 quick reviews on knives that you're going to want to see. In the comments below at the end of the video, I want you guys to tell me which one's your favorite. The Kershaw Launch 14. This knife's a little bit different. It's one of the only knives that I know that's an automatic cleaver, and it's pretty sweet. This is a CPM 154 blade with a flat grind that carries most of the way up and a swedge that carries all the way down. Now that swedge is more for weight relief and aesthetics than anything because it's not really carrying any strength to the tip as the tip's all the way down here. This isn't quite a worn clip because it does have a slight belly to it. It's going to lend to some chopping motions in the kitchen as well as normal slicing tasks. This forward sharpening choil and all the room that you have on this handle makes this probably one of my favorite launches in the series. Now I love the Kershaw Launch 1 and I love the Kershaw Launch 11 for their separate reasons. They really don't compare ergonomically, definitely the Launch 11, with this Launch 14. The action is really snappy. It rocks your hand and it rivals that of Protex. In use, due to these ergonomic lines, you're going to be able to use this for quite some time for long slicing tasks, say through cardboard, without your hand getting fatigued. On the show side, it does have this faux bolster look with the aluminum on top and this really nice carbon fiber going down the bottom. The clip side is all aluminum. There's a lot of milling going on in the back here, but their fit and finish is that of Kershaw. It's actually pretty damn good. We do have a slight gap right here between the carbon fiber and the aluminum. That doesn't really bother me because the aluminum's chamfered down in this area, so it's gonna make it look worse than it actually is. We have a standoff back here for a little bit of added strength as you get to the pommel. The clip is ambidextrous. The clip does leave something to be desired here. It's just kind of your typical Kershaw whatever clip. But in hand, it doesn't affect you one bit. This thing has a price tag of $140. Now, while that's expensive for a Kershaw Launch, they did do more to this than they have any other launch in the series. Mainly, this bolster look with the aluminum and the carbon fiber mixed up there, plus all the aesthetic lines. I can see where they came up with that price. Is it a little hefty? If you compare it to the other launches. But in today's day and age of knives, I don't think this is too much money. For a quick size comparison, here it is up against your Spyderco Manix 2. If you like the cleaver shape, you like automatic knives, I can 100% recommend the Kershaw Launch 14. Next on the list is the Spyderco Hanon. This is a discontinued Spyderco from about 2 years back, and there's still some on the market. It has a very interesting blade shape with this slight recurve here and then the very pointed tip. In hand, that pointed tip is pointed right in the right area, so your puncture tasks are going to work really well. They did a Spidey hole here for aesthetics, but on a good day, I can actually reverse flick it off of that. Your finger catches it just enough and you can send it out there. As you can see, the flipper tab does fail, but you have to intentionally try to make it fail, or I should say, you have to intentionally try to flip it to get it to flip. It's not hard, but it's something that in today's day and age with stronger detents, you're going to be like, oh man, this action sucks. No, just give it an actual flip and you'll be fine. Accessing this compression lock is probably one of my biggest points of contention with this knife. It is very, very difficult to access, and you have to really dig your finger in there to get it to go. Once you get it, it's just fine. I can actually get the knife open by doing the compression lock thing going on there. But it is something that is just like a liner lock that's hard to access. This compression lock is kind of a pain. This is a very good looking knife. We have titanium for the bolsters, and then we have G10 that goes down with this wood grain style pattern on the G10. The titanium does ride all the way through, creating a very solid knife in hand. Despite being small, it feels pretty good in hand even though your pinky's kind of falling off the edge. What's kind of weird is that this knife is a little small to where my pinky falls off, and I have narrow fingers, so those of you with a little bit thicker fingers definitely aren't going to like this, but it has a good slicing blade shape. This blade shape is fantastic for tearing stuff down. So it's kind of a conundrum in itself because it's not built for long use, but it's built for great slicing tasks. For a quick size comparison, here it is up against your Benchmade bug out. The pocket clip is ambidextrous, as you can see here, and recessed. As you can see on the inside, there is milling on the titanium, adding for a lot of weight relief. This blade gets very narrow behind the edge, and it is CPM S30V, so it's going to hold its edge for quite some time. Beyond that though, this price point's coming in at around $215 if you were to buy it new. Now that it's discontinued, you might be able to get it for cheaper from retailers, and then it's going to hit the aftermarket in 2 years and jack the price up because you can't get it anymore. $215 is way too much for this. I think there's too many inherent flaws, It's difficult for the flipper tab, it's not tuned too well, and then once you get it open, accessing the compression lock kind of is a little pain in the ass. For the size of this, it does feel good, but on the same token, it's a little small. And then you have just this generic Spyderco pocket clip, which they made specifically for this, and it just kind of looks eh. $215, I say no. The knife itself, despite its flaws, I actually thoroughly enjoyed carrying it. It is a fantastic slicer and a fantastic puncturing piece, and with S30 blade steel, you're going to be able to hold your edge for quite some time. I do like the Spyderco Hanon, but not for $215. Like the Spyderco Hanon, the Spyderco Brower is also discontinued. But unlike the Spyderco Hanon, I was able to pick it up for $140 off of White Mountain Knives. This is also in CPM S30V, but has this full typical Spyderco flat grind with this beautiful drop point style. And this knife always reminded me of the Hinderer 3-inch in hand. It is beautiful in hand. This is a fantastic fifth pocket knife. This does have this dark green G10 on one side and a titanium frame lock on the other. A little different from normal Spydercos, but they executed this very well. Accessing this frame lock is a dream. It's right there and it's super easy to get your finger in there. You can easily reverse flick this, thumb flick this knife, or slow roll it open. A dream in hand, a dream in your pocket, ambidextrous, what more do you want? It does have a good fidget factor to it. It is on phosphor bronze, so it feels smooth, but it's not quite drop shut. But once that race gets worn in from the frame lock, it's going to be even better. I have no issues with this knife. I think this is one of the most perfectly simple designs that have come out of Spyderco. And if you own this knife, you know what I'm talking about. This is an amazing design for everyday use. Here it is up next to the Hinderer XM18 3-inch, and dare I say, a very viable budget option if you're looking at a Hinderer but don't have the money. Out of all these knives that I'm showing today, this is probably the one that I recommend the most. Last on the list is this beautiful EMP EDC Designs Thick Boy. Now I talked about it before, the Thick Boy actually gets some of its design language from the Berg Blade Slim. You'll see that in the video that I'm going to post up here in that little banner, but you can definitely see that they share a lot of the same characteristics. The Berg Blade Slim is an S35 VN blade steel manufactured by Bestech, designed by John over there at EMP EDC. And this is a flat grind Wharncliffe style blade, kind of a little cleaver, but I would call it more of a Wharncliffe. It's kind of a glorified razor blade in your pocket that has ergonomics that are, oh man, just so amazing. Again, with the bolster look, we do have this bolster, true frame lock bolster design, more of a bolster lock I should say, with titanium here, titanium liners that go all the way down the length of the blade, and then micarta scales that he makes interchangeable scales for like 60 bucks. You can get copper, different colored micarta, G10. They haven't made titanium yet, but I bet you they will. Super easy to change out, you just take out those two screws. He satisfied the lanyard guys with this little lanyard hole that goes through the backspacer that I caught a little criticism on when I first unboxed this. I thought this backspacer was ugly. Now I don't think this is ugly, but I don't understand why it still protrudes slightly above the pommel of the blade and protrudes out the back. It doesn't really serve a purpose, but this knife is so cool it doesn't bother me. The pocket clip is this milled titanium pocket clip and it kind of fits the design. The action, reverse flick is amazing. The thumb flick is amazing. The slow roll, you have to really break that detent, so it's going to be a little bit slower, but it's still amazing. And you can see here, see that shouldering that's going on in the tang of the blade? It's going to wrap around this stop pin, creating an extra solid lockup. And then he has this jimping carrying all the way down the length of the spine, almost 3/4. It is shorter, but your finger tends to go all the way up here and it still provides traction. So well done. The opening hole, I love how they did like a fuller and then punched through the fuller. It actually allows you to open it from these points as well as the hole itself. Overall, I think this is a beautiful design. For $315, the price point's a little bit hard to choke down for S35 VN, but understand, this isn't him gouging you guys. This is the price to build these at Bestech. Bestech's one of the most expensive OEMs to get your stuff built at, according to him. Notice the Nimble had a little bit more flair when it came to certain things that were going on with it. M390 blade had an OEM by QSP, and that was only $285. That shows you that he's not trying to gouge you. It's not he's banking off of his name. It's just Bestech charges just a little bit more. In typical EMP EDC design, he made this such a fidget boss. I know I talked about this already, but gosh, is this a joy to have. This is such an ergonomic beast and it feels great in hand. And I can tell you, I've taken it out at like parties and people are like, whoa, what is that? This is a super cool knife. Here it is next to the Urban EDC 5.5. If you love this design and you're on the fence, this is something that when you get it in hand, it meets and exceeds your expectations. EMP EDC and Johnny over there are fantastic. His designs are awesome. I have a Nimble X on the way from him. He has a forever customer in me, not only due to his designs, but I spoke about it before, his customer service is second to none. Out of all four of these designs, the knife that I would pick to choose to keep forever, if I were to choose, would be the EMP EDC Thick Boy. I think that is probably my most enthusiast love here on the table. If you're looking for user, in my opinion, the best user on the table is the Spyderco Brower.